Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. Now this is a continuation of my top 10, 15, 20, 30 albums from the years 1965 to 1989, and today it's going to be 1984, which won out on the poll against 88 and 89. Now I said I was going to do a top 25, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to do a top 30, so it might be quite long, although I'll try my best to speed up. Now, as always, there are three bubbling unders, and they are Frida from ABBA, her second English solo album, with the single Shine, which is not a bad song. Heart of the Country is a really good song written by Stuart Adamson of Big Country, and it sounds like a Big Country song. Come to Me, I Am Woman is a beautiful ballad, but the highlight is the track Slowly, which was written by Bjorn and Benny, so it was really the first ABBA song after ABBA. And my second bubbling under is Sisters by the Bluebells. Now this is an album of two halves. The first half is brilliant, the second half is not so great. All the highlights are on side one, and you get songs like Kath, which I think is brilliant, and the single version is actually even better. I'm Falling, which is the first time I heard the Bluebells, brilliant. Young at Heart was a top 10 hit in '84, but then it got to number one in the very early 90s, and Will She Always Be Waiting I think was a double A side. It's not a bad album, but side one is much better than side two. And the third bubbling under is the Everly Brothers and their reunion album. It's just self-titled, although I think in America it was EP 84, and this is the one with Wings of the Nightingale, the Paul McCartney song, which is very good. The Story of Me, Jeff Lynne song, which is a really good song. I'm Taking My Time, great. They do a pretty good version of Lay Lady Lay as well. It was produced by Dave Edmunds, and it is a good album. Okay, so into the top 30, and my number 30 is Simple Minds and Sparkle in the Rain. Now there was three hit singles off this: Waterfront, which I like a lot, Speed Your Love to Me, which I absolutely love, and Up on the Catwalk, which I absolutely love. Other good tracks include the version of Street Hustle, which is pretty good, Book of Brilliant Things, but the highlight for me is The Kick Inside of Me, which is so frantic, and it's the second best song off this album behind Speed Your Love to Me. I do like this. It's completely different to New Gold Dream. It's more stadium rock than New Gold Dream. I do prefer the New Gold Dream album from '82, but still this is pretty good, and it gets my number 30. At number 29, and we have Big Country and Steel Town, and this was the follow-up to The Crossing, and it's not a bad follow-up. It's not as good as, but again there was three hit singles: East of Eden, which is fine, Where the Rose Is Sown is really good, and Just a Shadow, which is another good song. The highlights though are Flame of the West, which is the opener and is very bass heavy. Tall Ships Go is a great track, and The Great Divide is excellent as well. One of the songs I'm not that keen on is Come Back to Me, and the title track Steel Town is not great, but overall it's a pretty good effort after the brilliant The Crossing in '83. And at number 28 we have Sparks, Pulling Rabbits Out of a Hat. Now I'm not actually sure whether this was released in the UK or not at the time, but it's still from '84, so I'm counting it. The title track is really good. Pretending to Be Drunk is really good fun as well. With All My Might, there's a very funny video in that. It's a bit of a ballad, but it's an excellent song, and it is very 80s in sound, but the songwriting on those early 80s albums I think is pretty damn good. Other great tracks include Love Scenes is not bad, Progress is very catchy, and Kiss Me Quick is not bad at all. It's a decent album, and it gets my number 28. And at number 27, and we have the Go-Go's and Talk Show. And yeah, this is just good pop music, guitar pop music. Head Over Heels was the single off this, and it's a great track. Turn to You's not bad. I'm With You and Mercenary are very good songs. My favourite off this actually is the one written by Sparks, and it's called Yes or No. It was written along with Jane Wiedlin, so I think it was probably written around the time of Cool Places. But yeah, Forget That Day is another good song. Probably the weakest of those three Go-Go's albums from the 80s, but still it's pretty good, and it gets my number 27. At number 26, and we have XTC, The Big Express, and two singles off this: Wake Up with that jerky sound, Colin Moulding song, really good. All You Pretty Girls is like a sea shanty. I love it. I've always loved it. This World Over actually was the third single. I forgot about that, which is a very good track. And you get a Colin Moulding song, I Remember the Sun, which is it's okay. This is not as good as the previous albums. There is a little bit of filler in this, but it's still not bad, and it gets my number 26. And at number 15 we have the Style Council and Café Bleu, and I actually prefer this now more than I did then, even though back then I used to say this was brilliant. I never actually thought it was brilliant, but it is quite jazzy and it is quite laid back. The American version is better because you get the full proper version of My Ever Changing Moods on it. I think the album's called My Ever Changing Moods, and you also get a solo Bond in Your Heart. But the highlights of this are You're the Best Thing, obviously. Here's One That Got Away is great, and I like this version of Head Start for Happiness. There's things like Mixed Blessings and My Ship Came In and Café Bleu, or Blue Cafe, sorry, I could sort of do without. But it's actually quite an enjoyable album. I think this is actually better on CD, just to listen to from start to finish in one go. You get a little bit of rap with a gospel, which is it's actually alright. The Strength of Your Nature is pretty good as well. But it's not a bad album, and it's probably my second favourite of the Style Council albums, so it gets my number 25. At number 24, and we have the Flying Lizards in Top 10. I know this is all cover versions. Now, if you don't know the Flying Lizards, basically it's a guy called David Cunningham, and he gets in these female singers for 3 albums that they had, and they're all different. Now, this one is Sally Peterson. Now, you probably know them from the song Money, which is really weird, and the singer there was Deborah Evans Strickland, and in the second album is Patti Paladin. Now, basically it's electronic music with the girls more or less narrating the songs, and I think it really does work, and this is the album is probably my favourite actually. Now, they do versions of things like Dizzy Miss Lizzy, she's just talking it with all these weird electronic background. What's New Pussycat is weird as well, but it's so enjoyable. Suzanne, fantastic. Then He Kissed Me, love it. The one that I don't really like at all is the version of Purple Haze, but this is out there. This is really out there. It's completely different to anything, and it gets my number 24. At number 23, and we have Dave Edmunds and Riff Raff, and this is the second one produced by Jeff Lynne, and there's some really great tracks off it. Now, this does sound as if it was an ELO type album, not so much a Wilburys album, more ELO. And you get really good songs like Rules of the Game, which is great, a fantastic version of Paul Brady's Busted Loose, a really good version of Steel Claw, which Tina Turner had on her Private Dancer album. There are 3 Jeff Lynne songs on there, Something About You, I think Breaking Up, and SOS. But yeah, really good album, and it does have that Lynne production. That gets my number 23. And at number 22 we have Lou Reed and New Sensations, and this is his most 80s sounding album, but it's really good. The single, which was nearly a hit, I Love You Suzanne, the video for it as well, excellent. New Sensations, probably the best track off this, and it's the most 80s sounding. Flying to the Sun is really good, as is Doing the Things We Want To. Down at the Arcade, High in the City. I think this is very accessible, Lou Reed. Now, he's sort of singing a little bit on this, but not too much. It's still mostly narration the way he delivers, so, but it's still good. Turn to Me is another good song, good album, and it gets my number 22. Now, at 21, I didn't know this album existed until last year or 2 years ago when Rob Walker let me know that there was one. There's a band called The Questions on the Respond label, and I have 3 of their singles. I didn't think they ever made an album, but Rob informed me that they did, and whenever I entered one of his contests and I won it, he sent me it as the prize, and it's Belief by The Questions. And Paul Barry is the main songwriter here, and basically what this is really breezy, blue-eyed soul, and I think it's really enjoyable. The one single off this, well, I think there may have been another, but the one I know is Tuesday Sunshine, which I think is great. The title track, Belief, may have been a single, and it is fantastic as well. Drop That Burden, if it had been released in the summer, to me would have been a top 10 hit. It's It's almost Caribbean and it's really, really summery. It's excellent. December's a good track as well. The Bottom Line, Month of Sundays, all breezy, blue-eyed soul, but a very enjoyable listen, and it gets my number 21. At number 20, and a band I very rarely show, and I have 2 of their studio albums and a greatest hits, and I will admit I'm more a greatest hits fan of theirs, but I do like this one, and it is Cult and Dreamtime. And this is the one before the big hits of Rain and She Sells Sanctuary and Revolution, etc. But there was singles off this like Spirit Walker and Go West. I think Horse Nation might have been a single as well. I remember a lot of these tracks being played in our local nightclub in the early to mid 80s, and that's probably why I do like it. The one track I really like is Bad Medicine Waltz, which is like a waltz song, but it's done with a cult way. Now, it's not really heavy metal cult here, it's more gothic cult, and I think it's a pretty good album, and it gets my number 20. Now, at number 19, and the first time this girl has got into my lists, and it's Joan Jett and the Black Hearts, and it is Glorious Results of a Misspent Youth. And this is a very, very glam rock album. I know it's from 84, but it sounds as if it's from 1973. Very British glam rock sound. Yeah, this actually has some fantastic tracks on it, like a cover version of Gary Glitter's I Love You, Love Me, Love, which is brilliant. She does a reworking of Cherry Bomb, the most famous song by the Runaways. Frustrated, very glammy, brilliant song. And then there's a song called Hold Me, which is like a ballady type song, and it's absolutely beautiful. Other tracks include Talking About My Baby, which has got a bit of a, I think a bit of a Ramones feel about it, and I Need Someone, which has got a bit of a 50s vibe, but with a glam stomp to it, which basically that's what glam rock was, and a very good version of New Orleans. I think this is her best album. I think it's my favourite, and it is my number 19. And my number 18 is David Bowie, Tonight, and this is the lowest so far of any Bowie album in these rankings. And yes, I really do like this. I've always liked it. I think it's slightly underrated. There's some very good songs off this, like Loving the Alien and Blue Jean. Blue Jean's a very good single, but my 2 favourites are Tonight, the second single, which didn't do so well. It's sort of a duet with Tina Turner, although you can hardly hear her. And Don't Look Down, which is a cover of the Iggy Pop song from New Values. A couple of tracks I am not keen on is I Keep Forgetting, which is an old Lieber Stoller song, and his version of God Only Knows, which is a bit saccharine. But overall, I still think this is a pretty good listen. I prefer this to Never Let Me Down, so Tonight gets my number 18. At number 17 we have Bruce Springsteen and Born in the USA, sold by the bucket load this, but you can understand why, because it's a very good album. Born in the USA itself I do like. I've heard the acoustic version of it, I still prefer this rousing version of it. Cover Me was actually the second single, and it's not a bad track. Dancing in the Dark, yeah, it's alright, but I really like Glory Days, I really like I'm Going Down. My Hometown's really good track. I'm on Fire is an excellent song as well. No Surrender and Bobby Jean. Working on the Highway is like a little rockabilly number, which I think is very good. It's a very strong album, and it gets my number 17. And at number 16 we have Mike Wolfield and Discovery, and this is a weird album for him because basically there is 8 tracks off this, and 7 of them are songs, and there's 1 instrumental, which is The Lake, which is pretty good. But this has got To France, excellent track. Crystal Gazing is a lovely song as well. Talk About Your Life going into Saved by the Bell is a highlight for me. I really like Saved by the Bell, even though it's one of those sort of Howl at the Moon type songs, you know, but I really do like it. And Tricks of the Light, I think, was a single. Very good album. Follow up to Crises, and it gets my number 16. At number 15, and we have the Stranglers and Oral Sculpture, and the 3 hit singles off this were Let Me Down Easy, the third single. Didn't do as well as the other 2, which were Skin Deep, excellent, and No Mercy, excellent as well. Ice Queen's brilliant opener. North Wind's probably the best on the album. Uptown Punch and Judy are both really good tracks. Spain's okay, Souls is okay, and Mad Hatter's a good album. I think this is their most accessible album of the 80s, and it gets by number 15. And at number 14, and the Kings of Glam Rock, not Glam Rock, and it's Echo and the Bunnymen and Ocean Rain. And the big hit off this was The Killing Moon, and then the second was Silver, third was Seven Seas. But there's a lot of other great tracks off this, like Nocturnal Me's great, as is Crystal Days. Thorn of Crowns is a brilliant song. My Kingdom with the stuttering is also really good. I think it's my second favourite Echo and the Bunny album behind Porcupine, but it's still very good and gets my number 14. At number 13, we have Blancmange and Mange Tout, Rodney. Don't Tell Me is the big hit off this, and there was a single from the previous year, Blind Vision, put on this, which was also a big hit. The third single, That's Love That It Is, didn't do too well, and then they released a fourth one, The Day Before You Came, the cover of the ABBA song, which I think is pretty good. But you also get great tracks like See the Train, which is more like an a cappella thing. My Baby's very good. Game Above My Head. It's a good, strong album. It's their second album after Happy Families, so Mange Tout gets my number 13. And at number 12 we have OMD and Junk Culture, and this was riddled with singles as well. Locomotion was the first, followed by Talking Loud and Clear and the highly infectious Tesla Girls. The fourth single, Never Turn Away, was a great song but not a great choice of a single. But other fantastic tracks off this are Love and Violence, which is, I love the actual synthesizer in it, and I do like All Wrapped Up with the steel drums. Junk Culture itself is not bad, and White Trash is okay. A couple of not so brilliant tracks off it, but the rest of it is really, really good, and it gets my number 12. Now number 11, and is Van Morrison and A Sense of Wonder, and this is like all his albums in the 80s. They're just so good to listen to. Tore Down a la Rimbaud, if that's how you pronounce it, I don't know, is a very, very good opener. Ancient of Days is very good. I love the actual title track, A Sense of Wonder. I think the backing vocals in this are excellent, they really are. And it's such, again, it's the same as the next two albums. It's so well recorded, it's just so enjoyable. The tracks themselves don't jump out at you, you just put it on and just let it wash over you. It's a really good album, and this one here has him smiling on the cover, which is nice to see. Well, maybe it isn't. But anyway, A Sense of Wonder, Van Morrison gets my number 11. And at number 10 we have another weird album, and it's Fans by Malcolm McLaren. Now basically what this is Malcolm McLaren more or less telling little stories over electronic music, contemporary music, and in the background you can hear operatic music as well. I think it just works so well. It's a very short album now, I think it's actually under 30 minutes, but you get excerpts from Madame Butterfly. The track Fans itself is about a little girl who writes to her favourite pop star saying that she is a fan, she collects all his records, she has his posters from magazines. It's really, really good. Carmen is another good one. Boys Chorus is very good, and Loretta and Death of a Butterfly is probably the best off this. But I think this is a really good album, and I actually prefer this to the previous album, Duck Rock. So Fans gets my number 10. And at number 9 we have The Cars and Heartbeat City, and this is the one produced by McLaren, and it's the one with Drive on it, and some people think this is overproduced, but I just like the sound of it. Hello Again, I think it's a brilliant track. Magic is one of those songs I either love or hate depending on my mood. At the moment I really like it. Heartbeat City is possibly my favourite track off this. I think it should have been a single. You Might Think, great song with a fantastic video. Stranger's Eyes and Why I Can't Have You, or Why Can't I Have You, are very good tracks as well. It's probably their most successful one in the UK, I think, and it gets my number 9. At number 8 and we have Los Lobos and How Will the Wolves Survive, and this is a mixture of rock and roll, country and Mexican music. Don't Worry Baby starts off and it's good, but it is slightly sort of bluesy rock and roll, but then you get A Matter of Time, which is very country and I love it. Corrida number 1 is full of accordion, absolutely adore that track. And Our Last Night, another very, very good song. Serenata Nortena is another one like the corrido with loads of accordion, but I think it's sung in Mexican. And Little King of Everything is just cute. It's a little instrumental, but it's cute. And How Will the Wolf Survive itself is the closest you will get to a rock song. But this is a very, very good album, Los Lobos, and it gets my number 8. At number 7 we have The Pretenders and Learning to Crawl, and this too has loads of singles, but the thing about this was released in 1984 and the first single off this was in 1982, so I think you had one from 82, possibly two from 83 and one from 84. So anyway, it has middle of the road, brilliant track to open with, Back in the Chain Gang, one of their best ever songs. Show Me was a single in America, wasn't a single here. I like it, but it's not one of my favourites. Thumbelina, I think it should have been a single, brilliant track. Thin Line Between Love and Hate, very good, lovely piano on that. 2000 Miles is a favourite every Christmas, absolutely love it. I Hurt You is probably the least on this. Time the Adventure and Watching the Clothes are very good album, but sometimes I do look at this like a collection of songs thrown on an album rather than a cohesive album, but the songs are very good and it still gets my number 7. At number 6, and another King of Glum, and it's Lloyd Cole and the Commotions and their debut, Rattlesnakes. This is very good, this has got Perfect Skin on it, excellent. And the other two singles were Rattlesnakes and Forest Fire, both great songs. Are You Ready to Be Heartbroken was a single for Sandy Shaw, it's another good song. Patience has always been one of my favourites. 4 Flights Up, very catchy. Speedboat, brilliant track, excellent. I do like their second album as well, I'm not too sure which one I prefer, but if you're starting off with Lloyd Cole, this is the one to get, Rattlesnakes, and it's my number 6. At number 5, and it is Nick Lowe and Cowboy Outfit. And yeah, this is the one with Half a Boy and Half a Man, which was a minor hit single over here, which is pretty good to see. God's Gift to Women I absolutely love. Breakaway, very catchy, although it's a cover version. Love Like a Glove is the one that was co-written with Carleen Carter, his wife. Maureen's a good track, awesome, good instrumental. Live Fast, Love Hard, very country. I just think it's a very good album. It's still probably one of his least, but I still love it, and it gets my number 5. At number 4, and we have Lindsay Buckingham and Go Insane. Yeah, this is better than the Fleetwood Mac albums on either side of it, so for me this is better than Mirage and Tango in the Night. Starts off with I Want You. It was very Lindsay Buckingham type song, very melodic, very catchy, very hooky. Go Insane, great track. It's actually very good whenever he plays it just on an acoustic guitar. Slow Dancing is very dated with that sort of bass riff, but I think it's great. I Must Go, again another very hooky Lindsay Buckingham track. Play in the Rain and Play in the Rain Continued end side 1 and start side 2. I don't like the way it fades out and then fades back in again the next side. That's the only thing I don't like. Loving Cup is okay. Bang the Drum sounds like something from OMD's Architecture and Morality, and DW's Suite is a suite in 3 pieces, excellent. So Lindsay Buckingham, Go Insane gets my number 4. And my number 3 is The Bangles and All Over the Place, and this is their debut album, and this is brilliant. Starts off with Hero Takes the Fall, which was a single. It's not my favourite off it, I still like it though. Live is a great track, I think it might have been a cover version. James is brilliant, the guitar picking in that is fantastic. All About You, great. Dover Beach, the highlight of it, brilliant song. Tell Me, another great track. Going Down to Liverpool, I love a video with Leonard Nimoy. Silent Treatment, excellent. And then More Than Meets the Eye, which is sort of slows things down a bit, and it's a really good song. This is their best album, and it's my number 3 for 1984. And my number 2 is Queen and the Works. And yeah, every single song off this, by the way, was released either as an A-side or a B-side. So it was a long time before I actually bought this album because I had all those singles. So you start off with Radio Gaga, fantastic. Tear It Up, really good Brian May rocker. It's a Hard Life, a good standard of Freddie song. And then Man on the Prowl, which to me is like a piano version of Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Machines Are Back to Humans is weird, but I do like it. I Want to Break Free. Now, the album version is not as good as the single version. The single version is actually extended with an instrumental passage put in, and it makes it, but still, I love the song, the John Deacon song. Keep Passing Through Open Windows is probably the most underrated track, and then you get Hammer to Fall, which is a Brian May classic, and it finishes with Is This the World We Created, a little acoustic song, which is my least favourite off the album, but still, it's an absolutely brilliant album, and it gets my number 2. Which means my number 1 for 1984, and it is the Smiths' debut album. Now, this is the UK version. It does not have this charming man on it. It starts with Reel Around the Fountain, which is a slow start, but I really think it's a very good start. Things sort of speed up with You've Got Everything Now, which is great. Then we have Miserable Lie, which I just don't like. I've never liked it, and I wish These Things Take Time had been on this instead of that. But anyway, Pretty Girls Make Graves is a very good track, and then The Hand That Rocks the Cradle is very hypnotic. Side 2, Still Ill, one of the best ever songs. Hand in Glove is like a remix of the single, and it's a better version. What Difference Does It Make is one of my top 5 Smith singles without a shadow of a doubt. I Don't Owe You Anything is brilliant, as is Suffer Little Children. I remember getting this on the week it came out, and I just played this constantly. I absolutely love it, and it's my favourite album of 1984. Okay, so that's my rundown of 1984. I'm not going to put a poll up for the next one. What I'm going to do is either 1988 or 89, which was on the previous poll, because I need to clear those 2 years, because I want 2 of my favourite years to be at the end, which will be 1973 and 1979. Okay, that's me for now, and I hope to have that video of 88 or 89 within the next week or so. All the best now. Bye bye.